About Thomas Paine, then we can
Right.
talk
Yep.
about FDR and democracy, FDR and the Four Freedoms.
Yep.
And the reason we're going to talk about both is that this Friday, and this is very going to be brief,
Yep.
this Friday is Thomas Paine's birthday. So I make it a point of celebrating that as every year. Sometimes, well, in the past, I used to go down to Sarasota, Florida to to speak to an annual Thomas Paine's birthday dinner and dance hosted by Florida Veterans for Common Sense, a progressive veterans group down in Sarasota, Florida. But we haven't gone down the last few years. They are holding a party, however, I will say, on Zoom in February. Yeah, so I'll try to drop in by way of the Zoom, and they give their annual Thomas Paine Award, and this year they're giving it to Lieutenant Colonel Vindman, who was the
Oh,
whistleblower on the whole Ukraine quest stuff, and you know, basically Trump took out his revenge on Vindman, but of course in the end Trump lost. So much the better. Okay, so Thomas Paine, who was in fact, you might say, the godfather, if not the father of the United States. Yeah, I know he called George Washington the father, but it really is many ways is Thomas Paine, because it was Thomas Paine who not only in his pamphlet Common Sense of January 76 first called for the independence, that is, that the colonial rebellion should not just be to renegotiate the colonial relationship, but actually should be about a struggle for independence. But as Paine himself said, if it was only for independence, it really wouldn't have mattered very much. What was really important, as he laid it out in Common Sense, is that Americans had it in their power to begin the world over again. And in his terms, that meant that Americans had it in their power to create an unprecedented democratic republic. And, the revolution became a revolution not simply for independence, but also to create that democratic republic. Paine also went on to write a series of pamphlets known as the Crisis Papers to sustain the morale of Americans, especially the troops during the revolution. He then went on, I'm going to leave out a lot of his writings, but he then went on, got involved in the French Revolution, and wrote Rights of Man, a 2-volume pamphlet, really, in which he not only defended the French Revolution and attacked British monarchy once again, but also held up America as an example of what a revolution could be about, a democratic republic. He also wrote Age of Reason, which was a 2-volume pamphlet in which he criticized organized religion. He was not an atheist, he was a deist. And he believed that if we really wanted to be moral in our lives, so we should emulate God's gift to humanity, which was the creation. And he was literally attacked no end for generations because of his claim that the Bible was not truth, and that indeed he, as I said, he did believe in God, but that God was a unitary figure. Then beyond that, he also wrote, and this is really important, and then we can sort of end on this with one last note, is that Thomas Paine wrote a pamphlet called titled Agrarian Justice. And in there, without going into details, he outlines the very idea and vision of what we come to know of as Social Security. So he's not only a revolutionary Democrat with a small d, he's also really the pioneering figure in social democracy, the 19th and especially 20th century struggle for social democracy. And I'll just add that the powerful, the property, the prestigious, and the pious for generations really did everything in their power to suppress America's memory of Thomas Paine and his arguments, of his life and labors, because they so feared the radicalism of his pen. They were convinced that his radicalism persisted within American life, and that to read his work would in some ways be to once again encourage Americans to a more radical kind of politics. And yet they couldn't suppress the memory, because in every generation, from the very beginning to recent times, well, really into the 60s, those who we would think of as progressives or radicals or fighting liberals, that is the left, reached back and laid claim to Thomas Paine and his work, and in essence, to identify themselves with the revolution and the promise that ends up being stated in the Declaration of Life, Liberty, and the Pursuit of Happiness. So celebrate this Friday. If you're under 21, I'll leave it to you to decide how you want to celebrate. If you're over 21, I think a beer, a scotch, or a glass of wine in a toast would be a very nice gesture.